And we are live. That was meant to fade out, that music. Oh well, one more button I forgot to push. It's all good. What's going on, everybody? How are you guys doing today? It is a nice, pleasant, sunny day here in the Okanagan where I live. And I'm excited to talk toys. I'm excited to talk about toys with you guys. I will be I'm shooting for about an hour because I got a bunch of stuff I need to do, and then I will be actually jumping over to Geek Dad Life tonight. So if I don't talk about any toy news on the show today, it's probably because it's stuff that I'll end up talking to Jay with on Geek Dad Life. So like I said, I'm going to keep it a little bit tight. I'm going to talk about a couple Kickstarter things, give kind of my thoughts on some Kickstarter stuff. I realized that like I talk about Kickstarters, but I don't think I've ever really spoken at length about, how I feel about Kickstarters and what I think about Kickstarters and good versus bad or anything like that. So it came up a little bit in a conversation in the chat the other night when I was doing another video, and I've been sort of thinking about it more, and I've been sort of thinking about it from the context from both sides, because I've been involved in Kickstarters, and I'm going to be involved in another Kickstarter, full disclosure, very, very soon. Hopefully very, very soon, I should say. But I've also backed a lot of Kickstarters. So, I've kind of been on both sides of the fence. I was admittedly a little bit late to the party as far as Kickstarters go. I didn't back my first Kickstarter until I think 2020. But I've backed a fair few now. But yeah, I'll talk about that and a whole bunch of other stuff. And then I want it to be a discussion, a dialogue. I'm very, very curious to see what you guys think, and sort of how you feel about them. And maybe you guys have had thoughts that I haven't. Maybe I've had thoughts that you haven't, or vice versa. So it's just sort of cool. And I just thought it feels like everybody, on videos is always talking about specific Kickstarters. People are talking about, oh, this Kickstarter is launching, or this Kickstarter is funding, or this one is funded, or this one is shipping. But I don't know that I've really heard a discussion about Kickstarters, from the perspective of action figure collectors and things like that. So, um, anyways, let's see who is in the chat. Ray Paz is here. The collecting brothers are being represented by John. I think it's always John. Star is here as well. Let's see. Let's see. Robo Geek is here as well. Anybody else in the comments? Red 5 is here. Star says more space zombies. It's not toy talk, it's lifestyle conversation. We could talk about space zombies a little bit. You know what, at this point I think most people that are watching have heard sort of as much as there really is to share. But Game Quest is here as well. Good to have you. Good to have everybody. I'm glad that everybody's here. I'm glad that everybody is sort of able to be part of the conversation, because I do think I think it's a conversation. I think there's a lot of people getting a little bit of fatigue from Kickstarters, and a little bit of fatigue. I think there's like a little bit of collector fatigue in general, and I think that's healthy. It's good to reset. It's good to have sort of an object, take a step back, and objectively sort of look at what you're collecting and why. And I've been going through this a little bit recently. Part of it for me is that I've been finding that I actually have less and less time to pay attention to the toy news cycle, as a result of being much more involved in the toy companies that I'm working with. So I work for Spiro Toys, who are doing Animal Worries of the Kingdom. They will be doing the Bushido line coming up. There's some other stuff in the works. As a result of that, I met Arlen Pelche, who is a fantastic sculptor, who wants to basically launch his own line. So Arlen and I will be partnering on that, and hopefully launching that as a Kickstarter. So that's Space Zombies from Mars. It's going to be a Kickstarter. So I may be biased, in terms of being pro Kickstarter, but I do think I don't think Kickstarter is for everyone, and I don't think it is for everything. So I will say that I'm pro Kickstarter if it is used for what I sort of think the spirit of Kickstarter is. That being said, it is it's a democratic platform. Anybody can sort of do it, go through the process, and do the thing. And I'll talk about that too in a little bit here. But by and large, I think it's really, really cool. So that's sort of the spoiler, and now we'll sort of get into why I think the way that I do, and sort of what I think. And I'm very curious to see what you guys think. If I don't bring your comments up, I will try to star them. And when I say star them, I realize every time I say I'll try to star them. What that means is it basically like saves it to a shorter list of comments. So I will be starring comments, and then I'll sort of circle back when they're relevant, or once I get through my rant. Maybe I'll do my rant, and then I'll sort of jump back into the comments, and I'll try to go through them chronologically and try to remember what they were about, if there's not as much context in the comments. If anyone jumps on and says, hey, I'll probably bring their comment up as well. What's going on, Thanos? Good to have you. Let's see. Thanos says, remember last year I said no more Kickstarters? What a damn sucker I was. Thanos, how many Kickstarters did you back in 2024? And keep in mind, it's August, so we still have, we still have several months where you could still back more if there were more. Let's see. All right. So, um, I'll start one more comment. There we go. So, as I said, full disclosure, I am on the verge of launching a Kickstarter with Arlen for the Space Zombies from Mars. Um, I Not today, but in another video, we'll sort of go through. When we get ready to do the Kickstarter before we launch, we'll start of we'll get the whole the whole thing going, the whole media campaign going, and I'll talk about why we chose Kickstarter. Assuming we do, I mean, it's not set in stone, but assuming we go with the Kickstarter as we have planned, I will explain, why I chose that specifically. But today I just want to check in with everybody and sort of get a feel for sort of people's thoughts on Kickstarters in general. And you could be, I mean, you could absolutely 100% be against Kickstarters, and I'm not trying to change your mind because everybody's got different reasons for liking or disliking Kickstarters or whatever. And I'm not trying to petition anybody to back our Kickstarter yet. That'll come. But I have found over the last few years that a lot of my collecting habits have started. I would say that I was more of a mainline type collector. I was, I got into Lego, and as I was buying Lego, I was, in Toys R Us and Walmart and toy sections and things like that more often. And as a result of that, I got into Marvel Legends, and then I got into Black Series, and then GI Joe Classified. And then I knew about Kickstarters. I had seen Kickstarters. I am kicking myself now because I 100% knew that the Mythic Legions Kickstarters were happening, but I didn't know anything about Kickstarters. I was super reluctant to back a Kickstarter because I was like, well, there's no guarantee you get anything. I think I understood that, and I'm so risk averse that I just steered clear of Kickstarter. I would see something, I'd be like, that's really cool. I hope it gets made. I'll buy it when it comes out. And I totally understand anybody that sort of takes that stance. I totally understand. It makes perfect sense, right? The Kickstarter platform does not guarantee rewards. It does not guarantee anything. You are effectively investing in a company. Um, but anyways, I got into them. I think it was 2020, maybe 2021, the first Kickstarter that I backed. But then it was sort of like one a year. It was here and there. In 2023 is when I sort of really started seeing my collecting shifting. As I said, I was sort of a mainline guy. I was Lego and I was Hasbro. And then as I sort of started seeing these Kickstarters get cooler and cooler and more original product, I guess, get made, I found myself gravitating more towards the new stuff, the new IPs, the more independent stuff, smaller runs, all that kind of stuff. And I now find myself very much drawn to indie creators and to new toy lines. And what's weird is I was really reluctant to get into Kickstarters because I didn't know enough about the toy industry. I didn't really know how things work. I was sort of like, I kind of thought like, okay, well, this new company will, they got they'll have a factory and whatever, they'll sort of do their thing. What I didn't understand is that, like, really, all these companies are using the same factories. All these companies are using the same project managers. They ship the same. They're the same, the same plastics, the same boxes, the same everything. Like, it's all the same. It's just their version of something that a factory is already making in a weird way. So I've completely, that idea that, these are somehow different than the big companies, I kind of no longer have. I feel very much now that, you know, this just gives opportunities to the guys that don't have, jobs at Hasbro or Mattel or wherever to get their figures made, right? So in that way, I'm sort of really into it and I really support it because it's kind of that, I also, before I was a toy collector, before I was, a dad, before I was whatever, going back to high school, going back to my 20s, um, I was a skateboard guy, a BMX guy, going to punk rock concerts in my friends' garages and things like that. And I've always had sort of like a, I don't want to say anti-establishment because I'm not anti-establishment. I have a very subversive, um I lean to the very subversive. I think, the change comes from within. And I don't, so I'm not the guy standing, shouting at the corporation, and I'm not the guy, throwing the middle finger at the corporation or whatever. I'm the guy that wants to sort of talk to the people that work with these companies and see how they do what they do, and figure out if there's a way to sort of do what they do apart from them. You know what I mean? So it's like, it just, and Kickstarter is that way. That's the thing. Kickstarter gives the opportunity to do that to all these other little guys, right? So that's why I kind of love it. As I said, I backed 6 Kickstarters in 2023. I backed 7 Kickstarters so far in 2024. Um, and there's still more that I plan to back, much to the disappointment of my wife. But I mean, like Cyberzoic 2 will get a Kickstarter, and I'll definitely be in on that. Um, I know of a couple other people, either planning Kickstarters or that are going to do Kickstarters, and I know that other stuff's going to come up. There's so many cool creative people um, doing really cool and creative stuff. So, I mean, I just really like the platform, and whether it's Kickstarter or like Indiegogo, or I mean, I don't think GoFundMe really works for th- for this argument, but like, the idea like, effectively the idea that capital investment is now, taken away from just banks and just, big corporate things that have tons of money to sort of do that with, and sort of given to, the people. You're effectively supporting, in the same way that a bank does. But Kickstarter does so much more than that. Let me just catch up on the comments here a little bit. I'm just starring them, and I'll continue my rant, and then I'll sort of jump back in. I thought this would be easier, but it's easier to just do the comments as I'm going. But um, let's see. This one I won't star. I'll just bring this one up. I like the drama of a Kickstart campaign. There's anxiety on one side and there's drama on the other side, I guess. Um, Thanos says my collecting's gone more indie. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Everybody saying hello. Everybody chatting. Love it. Love it. Red Five said, honestly, before AWOC, I wouldn't look over to the indie stuff because it has no nostalgia with me, but I started admiring from afar. I can appreciate them, but still not willing to go further down. That's fair, and I totally get that. A kind of funny thing happened to me where, like, I think maybe as a result of some of the fandoms almost like turning on their own, I have less interest. I have sort of a diminishing interest, I will say, because I love Star Wars, I love GI Joe, I love all that stuff, but I have a diminishing interest in the fandoms, and so it's cool to be able to sort of jump in to new IPs where, the fans are new. There isn't decades of nostalgia built in there, and decades of people sort of thinking about what they want, and then being upset when they don't get it or whatever. So Gady's Toys is here. Good to have you. Let's see. Collecting Brothers, my collecting shifted more quality of quantity, but I will still pick up a $10 clearance Hasbro or McFarlane. Exactly. I still will too. Yeah, go fund my toy collection. Yeah, yeah, that's yeah, but who would back it? Who would back it? That's the problem. Um, let's see. Christopher Bouchard said, I backed the new Spawn medieval figure, and I'm thinking of the Brutal Realm campaign. I backed one of those. I definitely did not back the other one. Um, let's see. But okay. I'm just trying. Oh, Kelp Time. That's it. I really like that Kickstarter. They don't fit. I wouldn't have anywhere to put them. They're just not really my jam. But those figures look fantastic. I actually really like the design there. Nolan said the smaller guys are either going to push the big two to up their game or go the way of the dodo. You know what? I don't think that's really accurate. Hasbro and Mattel and Playmates, these companies will always be around. They make more than action figures. So I think we forget that. I think that people's perspective on like what those companies make is very specific to, the things that we collect. But I've said this before, Hasbro probably makes way more money off the Monopoly IP than it does off, you know, all the action figures, all the boys' toys, so to speak. So, um, Red Five says that's a good point. Joined an AWOC group, and the people are great, but the other fandoms are so toxic. I think there's toxicity in the fandoms. I don't buy into the idea that like though fandoms are toxic. I think it's just a vocal minority, and it just kind of ruins it for a lot of people that are less hardcore and less I don't know. I don't know. There's just a way. There's just a way to be a fan that doesn't have to be what some people sort of do. I don't know. I don't know. Star says my interest in Transformers is nearly gone. I was a huge fan, but after spending time on the fan sites, I'm done. Ridiculous, hateful fighting over nonsense. I don't need and that's seemingly like every fandom. Like in 2024, it feels like whatever the IP is, there's there's somebody that hates it. But anyways, that's we're not talking about that. We're talking about some Kickstarter stuff. Um just a few things that a couple other things that I want to talk about. So, Kickstarter's been around since 2009. Um, their website, and here I'll just pull this up because it makes sense to have it up while I'm sort of talking about it. Actually, I should probably log out before I do talk about it because that way you might I don't want to like click on something that I shouldn't or whatever. But I mean, it's been around since as I said, 2009. So it's been around for what, 15 years now. In 15 years, they've had 264,000 plus projects funded. Who knows how many didn't get funded as well? That's the other thing. Like I said, this is sort of this is capitalism democratized, right? If your product sucks, it's not going to get back. They've also had over $8 billion in funds towards creative projects, which is absolutely bananas. Like that is ridiculous. I don't need 8 billion, but like the project that I want to do costs money and I don't have that money. So here it is. Kickstarter is the way to go. The next bit of my rant is like, okay, so who is Kickstarter for then? Like for the creators, Kickstarter is a platform that allows you to, as I said, put your idea out into the world and see if other people like it. You will either get a positive result and it'll get funded and you'll be able to go, you could sort of get going with your project. Make your toy, make your stuffy, get your book published, make your film, um, comic book. What else? You see RPGs and card games, and I'm just trying to like look at some of the other stuff that just sort of pops up here. There's all this stuff, right? There's all this stuff that you can do. All these projects that you can fund and like anything you want to do, you can basically put it on here, right? It's like it's wild to think that like if you have an idea and you can present it in a way that people can get behind it, your idea can become a reality. Now, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you had an idea, but you had no money. You what were your options? Ask your rich uncle or extended family member, or go to like a bank and get a loan. The problem there is you get a loan and the thing fails, you have to pay the bank back. They don't really care that you spent the money. Um, this way, at least nobody's out any money if it doesn't work out, right? If there's nobody that likes it, you don't make the money. You don't make the product, right? So it's as I said, it's a great way to test the market too, to get an idea, that whether or not what your idea is a good idea ultimately. And Collecting Brothers said, I back Street Humans, was kind of sad it didn't fund, but definitely understand why it didn't. And there's one right there, right? Like it seemed like a good idea. People always say, like, hey, I would love to get background characters. I would love to get people to kind of like fill out my scene. And that's what was on offer with Street Humans, but it didn't take for whatever reason, and whether that was bad timing, whether it was the price, whether it was the offering, ultimately nobody will ever probably know exactly why a project does or doesn't fund. It really just comes down to, did people understand what you're doing, and are they into it as well? And I think that's really, really cool from the creator side. For the fans, I think it's a really, really cool opportunity as well. And again, take this with a grain of salt, because, like I said, I've been involved in Kickstarters, and I'm gonna be involved in another one sooner rather than later. Um, it really does give fans an opportunity to kind of support, like in the most direct way, to support creators or products that they like, that they are passionate about. And in a lot of ways too, it's a great platform to get feedback and get ideas from fans. There's always going to be things that creatives don't think about, or oh, you should do this color, or you should do this type of character. And I'm speaking specifically about action figure lines. You should have this as an accessory pack. You should do this. And there's all kinds of good ideas that come from the Kickstarter platform. And the nice thing about the Kickstarter platform is your your input is really effectively coming from people that support you. It's not the looky loos that are like, oh well, this is why you should do this or whatever. It kind of, it's a focal point for your product and for your idea and for your brand and whatever. So I think it's definitely like one of those things where creators, obviously there's a benefit, because you can fund a project and you can get something off the ground. But for fans, I think it's a really cool way to get in early. Now, as somebody that's been on both sides of that, I also think that creators should and they don't always, but I genuinely believe that they should lean into the fact that basically people are investing in their company. And what I mean by that personally is that I think the pricing should be the best that it's ever going to be. So if you're offering something on Kickstarter and you're asking somebody to basically put up the capital for you to make your dream come true, um, they better be getting a good return on their investment, basically. So, when you see something and it's like, "Oh, the MSRP is 40 bucks, but on Kickstarter it's like 38." I'm like, what's in it for me?" I think, if something's gonna be 40 bucks, it should be like 35 bucks or better, and, the bigger it the other thing is if it's a bundle, the bundle should be even more heavily discounted. I don't wanna, like, say numbers and then somebody be like, "Oh, you said in your video that the numbers should be this," and then it's like the Kickstarter comes out that I'm doing, and it's like the numbers don't line up. I'm just it's off the top of my head, right? Like, I think you should have a position where it is the cheapest somebody will ever get your product, like, without a doubt, and I'm talking about, like, when you put it on a Black Friday sale, it'll never be cheaper than when you do it on the Kickstarter. That's not always possible just because of the overhead and things that get involved, but it is what it is. You should be offering it off at the best possible price that you can. The other thing is you should throw stuff in there that isn't going to be available anywhere else. So as much as people don't like exclusives or whatever, I think Kickstarter is a great place to offer exclusives or particular colorways or particular like throw an accessory in there or throw a head sculpt in there, do something that's going to mean that somebody that gets in at the Kickstarter level is like getting something more than somebody that is waiting to buy it at retail. Not just the price, right? Like the price is one thing because there's also the argument that okay, well if I back the Kickstarter, I'm paying for it now. If I wait till it comes out, a year from now at retail, the difference financially won't make that much difference because I could have put that money in the bank and whatever. But if you give them something that they couldn't get otherwise, then I think there's more incentive, and then it sort of again, it makes backing the Kickstarter more appealing, but it also makes it's more of a thank you to the fan, to the person that's supporting you. I am also a very, very, very big fan of throwing stuff in for free. Whether that's, a sticker, whether that's, a digital version of a comic book, whether that's a digital version of music or whatever, like just adding stuff that really doesn't cost the creators anything. But it's just again, it's like it's that thank you from sort of the creator to the fan. It's that thank you from the company to the consumer. And I think those are the things that really make good Kickstarter stand out for me. Now, part of why, this conversation kind of came up was because of a particular Kickstarter that is going on right now. And it popped up here. Where did it go? And I think a couple of people have said that they backed it. The Spawn Kickstarter, and I'm not even going to give this Kickstarter the time of day because I think this is really weird and really not my thing. As I said, going back to like my thoughts on like who should be doing Kickstarters. There's an inverse of everything that I say for sort of who shouldn't be doing Kickstarters. But as I've said, if you're just starting out, you have an idea, but you don't really have the backing, at your disposal, which most of us don't. Let's be honest. If you're sort of starting a company or you're starting, um, if you're starting from scratch, you're literally starting from scratch. Um, Kickstarter is an amazing way to sort of get the word out there. If you don't have an established website, if you don't have an established brand, if you don't have an established reputation, if you don't have millions of people that know about what you're doing, this is it. Kickstarter is the way to go about that because everybody knows Kickstarter. I don't know about you guys. I can't, I'm not going to assume that anybody else does this, but as somebody that's backed Kickstarters and that's sort of like found out about Kickstarters before I was sort of doing social media stuff, I go to Kickstarter and when they have like their featured project or recommended for you, I actually look through all those. Every once in a while there's like a diamond in the rough where you've never heard about something, but there it is. Somebody's got a great idea. Um and their great idea is just not getting out there. People don't hear about it. Case in point is that when Animal Warriors of the Kingdom was first getting started, that's when I sort of jumped on and that's when I started doing videos. That's when Brick started doing videos, and it was just I started doing videos because no one else was talking about it. And so, I think Kickstarter, along with getting the financial support, Kickstarter is also a platform that allows these projects to be seen and to be known. And I think that getting into the news cycle, and I know that there's websites, there's toy news websites that must be doing the same thing because they'll pull up Kickstarter news like, hey, have you seen this or whatever. um I think that's what Kickstarter is for. I that being said, I think the crowdfunding model is great if you're an established company. If you're Hasbro and you're doing HasLabs, that works too. I totally understand why they're doing that. But Hasbro doesn't need to do a Kickstarter. You know what I mean? They don't need the attention that Kickstarter sort of generates. They don't need the attention, um the sort of the way that it works. And to be perfectly honest, they've basically taken Kickstarter and put a different skin on it, and it's HasLab, right? McFarlane has also done that. They have the McFarlane drawing board, which I think currently has the superpowers thing back up. It was down, it was up, it had a crazy funding goal. The funding goal came down. It passed the funding goal. It went back up. I don't know what's going on there. Um, but needless to say, I don't think established brands should be doing Kickstarters. I don't understand why they would do a Kickstarter. I genuinely don't, and I will leave it at that. Um, and I know that everybody's like, I can see the comments. I'm not gonna get into it because, like I said, he can do what he wants. Kickstarter is a democratic platform. As I said before, anybody that has an idea can put their project up here. It is what it is. I don't see why he or any other established company would use Kickstarter. I genuinely don't. You're gonna get the exposure in the news cycle. You're gonna get the numbers. It doesn't. I just don't understand it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it either. I will say that. I don't think so. The comment came up on another video that I did, like whether or not, another Kickstarter effectively like takes away from another Kickstarter. So if two Kickstarters running concurrently, does one take away from the other? And I don't think it does, if I'm being perfectly honest, because I think ultimately ultimately, whether it's a Kickstarter, whether it's a pre-order, whether it's a HasLab, whether it's whatever, I mean, we all for the most part, we have sort of a fixed amount that we're going to spend on toys, right? And that's where I see it as sort of like, okay, well, you can't buy everything. So the argument that like if one Kickstarter is running concurrent to another one, does that detract from one or the other? I don't think so because like, toys exist at the same time, right? Like if a Masterverse pre-order comes up and a Black Series pre-order comes up, you're gonna order the pre-order for the one that you like. It's not like, oh no, it, there's two things to pre-order at once. We don't have the same conversations about pre-orders that we do about Kickstarter. Is what I'm sort of saying, and so that's where it's kind of funny to me because I am somebody that typically prepays my pre-orders, when I make the pre-order because my logic is if I can afford it now, I can back it now or pre-order it now. Um so that it's not a future me problem. I prefer not to create future problems. I prefer to deal with problems now so that they're not problems later. If that makes sense. I do know that, everybody's different. Everybody's sort of like money, everybody does their money thing differently. I'm not trying to tell people, how to live their lives. I'm just saying for me personally, the difference between a pre-order and a Kickstarter is effectively nil because I pay for everything up front. The only annoying thing is that when you do a Kickstarter, it doesn't actually charge you for me, the annoying thing is it doesn't charge you, like, on the day, it charges you the last day, so I have to make sure that, everything's where it should be, not that it's ever been an issue, but, you do have to sort of be mindful of that, so, um, um Ray Pat says, "At this point, I'm waiting for Bushido, and I'm done with Kickstarter for a while." Uh to the best of my knowledge, Bushido will not be a Kickstarter. To the best of my knowledge, Bushido will be a pre-order, or that has been sort of the plan that's been discussed. Um, let's see. Um, Collecting Brother says, "Didn't Todd say he was going to start doing his crowdfunding on his own website? He has. He's done 2 projects on there. That's what I don't understand." Um, let's see. Let's see. Uh, yes, Mythic Dolphin. If anybody has girls age 4 to 12, that Kelp Tides Kickstarter is making mermen action figures. Yes, they are. They are. We sort of talked about that a little bit before. It's not my jam, but I'm happy that they're doing their thing. Um, actually, let's look that up. Kelp Tides Merman action figures. It is it's admittedly like a pretty interesting oh, I'm in Canada and when I log out. Hold on, let me change this to US dollars. Oh, come on. I got to go all the way to the bottom here to change this. Or should we go Australian dollars? Let's not do that. Oh, come on. Yes. Yes, change currency display. There we go. So this honestly, I really hope these guys do well. Or this guy Pablo. I hope he does well because I think this is something different. It's original. I could totally see this being in stores. I think it's one of those situations where just because it's somebody that's not an established brand, he's trying to do something different. He's trying to do something new. The figures look fantastic. They are, great articulation. Great project. Cool figures. They're different, like I said, and they would fit into, a bunch of different. I like that. I like some of the translucent stuff that they're doing. Um, but yeah, I mean, I hope these guys succeed. I think this is the kind of project that I like. It's a small project. The scope is like very specific. They know exactly what they want to do. They know exactly how much it's going to cost to do that, hopefully. Um, and they're not far off. I mean, they're only looking for $25,000, which seems it seems very, very low. I I can't see how they would make a profit in there. I don't even see how they could necessarily pay for their molds for $25,000. If I'm being perfectly honest, the numbers on this one seem very, very low to me. But yeah, I would love to see that succeed as well as a whole lot of others. Um, Obviously, one that a couple other people are talking about, the Brutal Realm campaign, is another one that's currently going, that got a huge bump when some of the retailer numbers came in, and then I think as a result, saw another big bump in people that sort of realize, oh, they're unlocking things. This is going to happen. There's always that, when you hit your funding goal, you see a bit of a bump because people realize, okay, they're gonna make these. Now I'm gonna get into this. Um, Again, that sort of speaks to the drama of how these things typically go down. But all right, those are just a couple projects that you can go on back that I would. Those are the two that I'm paying attention to right now. And I think 4 days to go with Brutal Realm, 5 days to go with Kelp Tides. Both of which I really do hope the best for both of them. Um, let's see here. Just sort of skipping past, admittedly skipping past some of the Todd talk. Um, let's see. Let's see. Skipping some of this stuff. No Chewing is here. Good to have you. What's going on? JMax77 has joined as well. Good to have you guys. Happy to have you along for the ride. All right, back to some of the comments that you guys threw in here. That's kind of my rant. I think it's a great platform. I think so. The very clickbaity thumbnail that I had. I don't. There's no such thing as too many. My opinion is, the more good ideas can get out there and can get exposure, the better. The more that creatives can sort of have some control of their own destiny, the better. I think I think Kickstarter is pretty ruthless in the sense that, if your product isn't as, sometimes you could think your product is great, and you put it up on Kickstarter and you realize, I may need to rethink this. What can you do? You retool, you rejig, you come back better, you come back bigger, you come back stronger the next time, because that's the other thing. You can try and try and try again until your Kickstarter funds. I think it's a really good sort of testing grounds for whether or not your good idea is in fact a good idea or not, like I said. So um all right, Ray Pass says, I'm over Kickstarters. I'm going to have to be a lot more selective. Where I've gone sort of with that is that with most Kickstarters, like, I am not financially able to go, all in on everything. But what I like to do, and I know that this goes against all my rules, but this is an adjacent asterisk rule to my rule of, like, I don't buy one of anything, because I'd like to have, full shelves of things. I have a habit on Kickstarter if it's something that I'm not 100% into, and I have said this before, Brutal Realms, Barbarians, it's not really my thing. It's really not my thing. But I had that prototype in hand. It is a fantastic figure. The dudes are the good dudes, behind the project. I really like the people that are involved. And so, I backed for one figure. I'm not going all in. I'm not, every time they unlock a new figure, I'm not updating my pledge. I put my money in, and I'm happy with my one figure selection. So in that sense, like you don't have to, I also do like to sort of support creatives that are doing something cool, even if it's not something that I'm necessarily into. I might get the figure, play with it for a week, and then sell it, or give it away or whatever. But I would rather support these guys than support I have enough Marvel Legends. I don't need to buy another one, I guess. Um Robo Geek says my wallet says there's too many Kickstarters. My wallet agrees. Um, Too many awesome Kickstarters. I have to pick and choose, and sometimes just order a figure or two from a line at Big Bad Toy Store instead of backing the Kickstarter itself. That helps. It certainly helps. What I will say is that it doesn't. What I will say is this. The retailers are great, and if you can kind of get success that way, that's fantastic. There's Yeah, I don't know how to sort of explain it apart from just really sort of breaking it down, and I didn't really want to, but if you pre-order in Big Bad Toy Store, that's still great. Big Bad Toy Store typically, will put if they get a bunch of pre-orders, they'll put money into the company. But if you put $100 into a Kickstarter, for let's say two figures let's do like one figure. Let's say a figure is $50. Big Bad Toy Store is probably not paying $50 for a figure. So when you sort of go to Big Bad Toy Store and order your $50 figure, their price is probably based on a retail price, and so they back, they're not backing for the $50. Basically, like they're back, if a figure is $50, they're backing for like $35 or something like that. So the actual like capital investment that the Kickstarter creator gets is significantly diminished if it's funding that comes from a retailer, which is like the really boring mathy part of how Kickstarter works. The company is way better off. Like, say you're going to buy, three figures in the long run. The company's way better off if you back one in the Kickstarter and then just, set the other two, rather than, pre-ordering three from Big Bad Toy Store, if that makes sense. I'm not going to, I'm moving past this, but please, 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 not just, any ones that I'm involved in, but please, if you want to support a line, back the Kickstarter directly. It is so much more beneficial to the company. It also adds backers. It adds, data that they can use. You're also going to get more information. Like I said, if the Kickstarter is doing things right, you might get extra stuff. You might get bonus stuff. You might get access to things that people aren't going to get otherwise. So I don't know, just thinking out loud a little bit, I suppose. Um, Star says he didn't back too many Kickstarters. He later corrected it. For all the duds that may come out, there may be that gem in the mix that blows everyone away. Only way for that to happen is to encourage more. Yes, and that's the thing. I think in 2024, it's pretty easy to spot the projects that don't look right. Um, but I also think they're few and far between. And I will say this, I don't I don't think most people start a Kickstarter to swindle people. I think most people start them with the best intentions and maybe don't know what things are going to cost and maybe don't have that planned out well enough. And I think sometimes Kickstarters that fund that don't get delivered, I think that they just screwed up. But I as I said, there's fewer and fewer of those that I'm hearing about. So Star says more creators reaching for that dream benefits all of us. I agree. I think more people getting involved, more people that maybe wouldn't be able to get into the industry, the toy industry through the more traditional sort of direct methods. It's cool. It's cool that there's more access to making toys as a result of Kickstarter. Sean Forrester, I'm hesitant on Kickstarter. My experience has been mixed. I've had many either not produce or go way beyond estimated delivery dates. Totally understandable. I totally understand that. The delivery dates one, I can honestly say I don't know of a Kickstarter that actually delivered on time. And that is, it's honestly because things take time. And I would rather wait for something to be made as well as the creator would like it to be made, as well as the company would want it to be made. And sometimes the delays are from the factory. Sometimes the delays are entirely out of the Kickstarter or the creator's hands. Um, but that being said, it's a bummer. I mean, that is sort of the the I guess there like the two cons, for all the pros of Kickstarter. I think the two cons are paying for something way in advance, and then the wait. The wait is terrible. I get it. I totally get it. Um, but as I said, if the team behind the Kickstarter campaign is good, if they can keep going with the updates, as long as there's transparency, I'm pretty happy. Um, uh, GameQuest said a challenge I have with Kickstarter is that I'm involved with numerous hobbies, not just action figures, so it's multi-directional in that respect. Yep, absolutely. As I was saying, it's comic books, it's tabletop games, it's card games, on and on and on. Whatever your idea may be, it's probably on Kickstarter. I'm falling way behind in the comments. I see that there's like a whole bunch of new ones. So um I lost my cactus. I think they encourage reckless spending in order to get a deal. If you can't swing that, then I feel like you get punished for it later in price or availability. I disagree with this comment because I don't think anybody is encouraging reckless spending. I think that's a perspective thing, and I don't think anybody's punishing anybody for not buying their product. I think it's just a reality that the best deal should go to the people sort of investing early. That's to me, that makes the most sense. I mean, having a Kickstarter where the product will be the same price at retail, why would anybody back it? Why would you back a Kickstarter? So the figure's $40 at retail and you can wait and just buy it at retail. Why wouldn't you? Right? So I don't think it's, but like I said, I'm not here to change anybody's mind. I just have a very different perspective on that specific idea. Um but that's my opinion, compared to your opinion. I totally get it. I totally get it. Um, Star says, I'm amazed at how a smaller indie company like Spirit has such higher quality figures over the larger companies that have been around for years. Would we have ever seen this without Kickstarter? I don't know. And that's the thing. I don't know that the big guys necessarily would have been pushed. I don't know that there would have been, I don't know that there would have been, I, maybe there would have, maybe there wouldn't be. I don't know. I don't know that we'll ever know. I do know that people that work at the big companies are definitely backing Kickstarters and are definitely, paying attention to what other companies are doing. Um, Red 5 says Spiro listens. I think you mean Spiro listens to the fans. When Jason makes a purple lizard in my head canon, I'll think it's because of me. If we make a purple lizard, it'll be a small percentage because of you. It'll be a big percentage because of a couple other guys. Feels nice being on the ground floor like you and Jason coming on live and talk to us is incredible and unheard of. As I said, I think if you're gonna do this, if you're gonna have a crowdsourced project, you are there's a balance, right? I don't. There's a balance. I don't feel like the backers you know get full say in what we do, but I do think that all the backers should know what decisions we're making as we're making them, so that there is, like I said, full transparency, so that why there's a delay or what the delay is, so why we did a change, and on and on and on. Because what I've seen in big companies is certainly where there's a solicitation for a product that's like a 2D render, and then when it gets delivered, the articulation's different, or the paint scheme is different, or there's something different and there's been no explanation, or there's a 3-year delay because the rubber that you're using is weird or something like that, and there's no explanation. So I think it's just that's what you get with Kickstarter, right? Like if you back a Kickstarter, you have access to all the updates, and you should be getting the knowledge firsthand, and a little bit earlier than most, and so on. So Star says, I was never a fan of the Kickstarter exclusive figures. I agree that the backers need something special. An exclusive figure leaves out so many fans and collectors. Maybe an exclusive accessory or color. Yeah, but I mean that's what I mean, I guess that goes back to the discussion of, like, exclusives, and like what is an exclusive, how exclusive, like how special do you want it? I am not a fan of, if you have a main character that is an exclusive, I'm not that's not what I'm advocating for. What I'm advocating for is like a paint color, or something like that that's exclusive to Kickstarter. I'm certainly not saying, if you could only get if you could only get Lion-O as an exclusive figure or whatever, and you could get all the other Thundercats at retail or whatever, that would, yeah, that would be weird. I'm more, like I said, a colorway, or when Animal Wars of the Kingdom series 2 did the translucent pale. You don't need translucent pale. You already have multiple versions of pale, or you should. And that's just sort of like a bonus fun one that I think, makes sense, right? So that's where my head is at with exclusives. I don't, I agree. I don't want there to be, a character that's exclusive. It's got to be a colorway or something like that. That's sort of a bonus. Um, and I Lost My Cactus says it's a safe way to get guaranteed support, less expensive than blind running a product. Exactly. And in a nutshell, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. Now let me scroll way back to try to find where I was in the comments here. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Where was I in the comments? Sean Forrester said, "Can these be produced for 25K? That's an issue." It's a little bit of an issue for me. I haven't looked that deeply at that one. As I said, that one, that's one of those like ones where I'm backing for a couple bucks with no reward kind of thing, because I don't need those figures. Red 5, Brutal Realm looks cool and I wish them luck. It's just not for me. Yeah, exactly. And and that's the other thing, is that, like, I think there's like a hype train, there's like a FOMO thing. I think people kind of get excited about Kickstarter, and there is that built in, and now I've forgotten whose comment was, that it sort of, um, it incentivizes like excessive spending. I I think that's down to the individual who will be doing the spending. I don't disagree that the platform and the news cycle and sort of all of that might push people in that direction. Um, Thanos says, "Have you seen the Beards of Dragon Kingdoms Kickstarter?" No. Is that something I need to see? Beards of Dragon Kingdoms. It's not coming up. Oh, there it is. 1/18 scale. Okay. Uh, uh, I don't know. I'll wait and see. I'll wait and see on that one. Maybe we'll talk about that one when they launch. Does it say when they're gonna launch? No. I'll click notify me at launch. I'll bite. Um, let's see. Um, Christopher Bouchard says, "I like that Crowman figure from Brutal Realm." See, and that's the one that like tons of people are into. The ones that I'm into are Chief Motto and the bad guy. Um, the Owl King, I think, is the other one. So right now, my pledge is for Chief Motto, the Native American First Nations figure. I think that's different than anybody else is doing, and I don't foresee anybody doing anything like that in the future. Crowman is, to me, it's okay, it's cool. I get why people like it. I like their He-Man and Skeletor kind of homage figures. If you haven't seen it, they're like stretch goal. Like if they hit 300 grand or whatever, is basically a Lion-O homage, which I'm not gonna lie, I'd probably back that too, but, um, yeah. Um, and Amanda says, "Ray, you have one more Kickstarter before you can be over them." Um, and Star says, "I've never pulled the trigger. Space Zombies may be my first Kickstarter. Probably gonna need all you guys' expertise on what to do on Kickstarter. I have no idea." I'll be happy. I mean, I'll be honest. I've spent the last couple months explaining a lot of how Kickstarter works and how it doesn't work and what it is and what fans have to do to sort of complete their transactions and things like that. But I'm totally happy to do it because, like I said, I think and honestly, like whether it's one that I'm involved in or another one, I'm not involved in Brutal Realms at all. But I'm happy to like explain how it all works to people for whatever Kickstarter that they want to back because I really do believe in the platform. I I am a cynical, jaded 42-year-old man, but when it comes to toys and when it comes to stuff like this, like I kind of there's like a different part of my brain switches on because I'm always the optimist. I'm always the guy that wants these ideas to succeed and wants all these projects to succeed. And it really I was getting a little bit anxious and like bummed out for the Brutal Realms guys because I genuinely, a week ago was like, I don't think they can make it. I, I mean, I think the line will be successful. I just like the hardest part is getting your project off the ground. And I really wanted them to succeed, and I'm so happy that they have, and that they're going to be able to do their thing. Because, like I said, I've had that prototype in hand, and that figure feels amazing in hand. It is a really, really well designed figure, so I'm really happy that they're getting to do that. So, Thanos, I simultaneously have more than enough and not enough Marvel Legends. Yeah, Yeah, I say I'm not buying Marvel Legends. I ordered a Marvel Legends like 3 days ago. So there's still characters that I need to like complete teams and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean there's still a little bit of room in my collection for some Hasbro stuff, but it's definitely leaning more towards um it's leaning much more towards the indie stuff. Ray says better make sure that Space Zombies is coming out in a year. I'm burned out. I've said this, and I will continue to say this. The Kickstarter will launch when we're ready to launch it, and we really want to make sure that we have sort of all of our ducks in a row and everything lined up so that we can absolutely minimize any and all delays and get it into people's hands as quickly as we can. Yes, we will do everything we possibly can to get them, in people's hands fast because the time frame thing, the delay thing, waiting on your pre-order basically, which is how people see it, is the worst part of Kickstarter. Um, Gatey's Toys in reference to Marvel Legends says, I have precious few I still need for my 91 X-Men, but still need them. Let me know which ones you need because I may have some that might fit. If it's ones that are out, let me know. Message me on Instagram. Um, Collecting Brother says, for that reason, I was kind of shocked, but how healthy the Brutal Realm Big Bad Toy Store numbers were. Yeah, that's a really big bump from Big Bad Toy Store. And good for them. I mean, I'll be a little bit interested to see what that means. So I'm curious. I haven't asked them. Like I said, I'm not involved in any way with the Brutal Realms stuff or those guys, and I haven't really spoken much about them in my videos as because of that. Um, I'm curious to know whether Big Bad Toy Store will like whether there will be an agreement there that maybe Big Bad Toy Store will get an exclusive or something like that as a result of that big a number, because that's a big chunk of change. Um Star says, how big do you expect Space Zombies to be? I need to go all in, but money gets tight. Um it won't be too big. And that is something that was really important to me. I didn't want it to be like this massively expansing thing where we have 37 stretch goals and there's 80 figures to buy and whatever. It's gonna be pretty manageable. It's gonna be pretty manageable. The initial offering, I think I've already said, but the initial offering will be 2 astronauts, 2 zombies, and then an exclusive figure. So you're all in for the Kickstarter launch will be 5 figures, not price wise. It'll be the 5 action figures. Um, with a few figures after that, but as I said, we don't have I don't want to say how many we have. You'll have to wait and see. I want there to be like some surprise. I want there to be like something we could build up. I was talking to Arlen the other day, and we were talking about, should we start doing videos and should we start? And I said, no, let's figure out when we're going to launch and then sort of backtrack from there and start doing videos when we have a better idea of time frame. um, Damn money, absolutely, it's the worst. Um, Albert says, I just want to know where everyone is putting this stuff, especially with the like of GI Joe and Motu. These toys are huge. I've got two shelves of classified figures. I've got a Hiss tank on another shelf here. I've got vamps and stingers and ferrets and another Hiss tank on the ground over there. I don't know where people are putting this stuff. I honestly don't know, and I don't know where I'm going to put. I don't even know where I'm going to put Space Zombies from Mars, but I'll have to make room for it. Ray Pass says, I may do what Adam said and knock it down to one figure. And that's the thing. Like, for me, for me, as far as Kickstarter goes, like if you know that there's 4 Kickstarters that you like and 4 sort of creators that you like and 4 projects that you like, maybe just get one from each, you know, and then wait, you know, at retail, you can still buy them at retail, right? Later on. It's just, you know, it helps. Every little bit helps, right? So that's where I'm at. How far behind am I in comments? Am I way behind here? Yeah, I'm so far behind in comments. Dang it. And I'm way over on time. I'm gonna skip a whole bunch. So I apologize if I miss your comments. Um yeah. Ray Paz, good point. I think Wade from Unparalleled Universe did pretty good with delivery. Yeah, he did really well. But again, that's because, you know, the scope of the project was really specific. He was doing one figure and then some accessories. So it was really quick. Um um hmm I gotta skip a bunch. I'll pull up a couple though. My take, I love my new toy IP. We need it. If I can swing it and vibe with the toy line or toy creator, I like to back a figure or 2 or 3. And that's just it. Is that like, you know, just supporting the new guys, I think is just really cool what it's about. So um the most satisfied I've been with figure purchases have been Jada, Mafex, and Spiro. That's ringing endorsement for Spiro and Jada, you know, especially because they're kind of new kids on the block as far as the action figure game goes. So, um, since you mentioned it, mentioning colorways, purple translucent blight would be cool. I don't know about a purple translucent blight, but there may be a purple translucent figure in the line at some point. Um, Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I gotta skip so many comments. I just realized the time code on the comments that I was pulling up. So, um, Brick's late. I'm kind of into Kickstarters and new IP. Really, we should chat about that. Um, Red 5, I'm still 50-50 on Operations Monster Force. I don't do military anything, but I might do this. I got my first Fresh Monkey Fiction figure in hand and out of the box actually yesterday. This is the Naughty or Nice line that they're doing. I got this because I wanted to see Fresh Monkey Fiction's like plastic in hand. Um this is research because we're very likely, if things go according to plan and Space Zombies from Mars gets funded, it'll probably be made in the same factory as these. They're great. It's a really good figure. The articulation's not great on this, but Arlen was like, it's what they wanted for this for Santa. So there you go. The Monster Force stuff looks really good. And I wasn't interested until no, I shouldn't say that. I had decided I wasn't going to get it until until I started this thing with Arlen, and now I want them to sort of get more samples of stuff from the factory. So, um, RoboGeek says loving the green on that Ogun figure from Brutal. Yeah, that's another good one. They're all good. I mean, they're all good in their own way, but like I said, I think the Chief Motto is really the one that stands out to me personally. Star with Brutal Realms, I might pick up the Native American. That's Chief Motto, and some blanks to customize into Conan characters. Good call. Collecting brothers, using Brutal Realm to make spear. Yes, absolutely. And then all you need is the super colossal T-Rex from Mattel. There you go. You've got your primal dreams come true. Mythic Dolphin, the Owl King is unlocked, and he has an Owl 3-pack set as an available add-on. I think that's really cool. I think, you know, that people, you know, as I said, you know, Kickstarter is a cool platform because people asked, will you make extra owls? And they said yes. Uh, I think though that they've said that the 3 pack of owls is just 3 more of the same owls. I would have liked them to be able to, like, do 3 different paint apps, personally. I would have backed 3 separate paint apps. To the best of my understanding, it's 3 of the same owl, which is I don't buy like that. But I love that they're doing it. I love that the people asked for it and they're following through. So, um, let's see. Robo Geek 1973 says first time I'm hearing of space zombies. Well, that's fair. You're gonna hear a lot more. Hopefully, you hear a lot more. I will. They are very unstable, but they are on my desk. So just because, and I'll wrap up. I'm gonna try. How far am I in the Okay, I'm not too far behind in the comments. I'm about to get far behind again. Let me. Dang it. Okay, so full disclosure, none of these parts are attached. This guy is gonna absolutely break. What just fell off? Something just fell off. Oh, and his hand just fell off. Dang it. That's the astronaut from Space Zombies from Mars. He is held together with nothing. It's just it's all just like, oh, his leg just fell off. This is just the 3D printed paint master. Oh, this is not gonna stand up. I gotta lie him down. The zombie, on the other hand, is a little bit more stable. I think he's glued together a little bit better. So I'll show him. Um, so this is Space Zombies from Mars. I am very excited about these. Anyway, oh, nothing broke. Don't worry. Oh, okay, he's back down on the desk. I can breathe again. Brick Something says waiting on Kickstarter is challenging, but kind of neat to consider that backers are essentially the investors that determine whether or not an entire toy line exists or not. It's more than a pre-order. It's so much more than a pre-order, and I think that's the, unfortunately, I think it's often the case that people sort of think of it as a pre-order, but like I said, it's you're investing in the company and you're supporting creators and you're supporting companies that you believe in, really. So it's literally like putting your money where your mouth is. So if you're talking about like how cool something is, there's your opportunity to back those things up, right? So the weight is the main reason I don't do it. But that's how long things take to get made. That's I think too. There's an element where I think some of the people behind these projects, I think sometimes they're not entirely objective about their timelines, which I don't like. So if they're kind of fudging the time frame, when somebody's like, "Oh yeah, we'll have them in 6 months." I'm like, "Are they in production now? Because if not, they're not going to be here in 6 months." Um Star says one of those Brutal Realms blanks just screams Thundar incoming. Yes. And I think that's great. I think that's, if even if you back just for a blank, right? Just get something because it helps. Every bit helps. Um, Robo says I'm putting all my stuff in totes for the day I win the lotto and can buy a big house and actually have room to display. Yeah, I I don't like having stuff in bins. I was sort of cleaning up my room and making a little bit more room. I managed to fit 4 more Mythic Legions on them in a Mythic Legion shelf because they've been sitting in a bin for ages, and it was driving me crazy. Way behind in comments. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to catch up. Um, Now's the time when you start leaking more AWOC stuff. No, there's not really anything to leak. I'll be totally honest. Right now, we're sort of like full steam ahead, like blinders on for just making the Kickstarter stuff. Um, Larry's Geeky World. I still need to find a place for the Ultimates Cats Lair. Yeah, you're gonna need to build like another building to fit it in, I think. Um, yeah. Um, Brick said the odious in scope isn't it true that a project that small is often bumped by factories for larger projects? I don't know. I think typically I don't think a project like that has to get bumped. I think that's part of it is that because he was basically just making one figure, as far as a factory is concerned, it's a one and done. It's very, very simple and straightforward. Um, and they get paid, they get paid when they ship. So I would think that getting sort of a one and done out of the factory would actually benefit you. Now, it's different when it's like 3 or 4 figures. So there is some politics within the factories as far as like what projects goes. Also, if you miss whatever deadline, so if you have to approve something by a particular day and you don't make it, they don't extend it. You're at the back of the line now. So some of the extensions are sometimes just like miscommunications. Anyways, yeah, projects get bumped all the time and it causes delays. So Star says, can we expect some lore to come out before the Space Zombies Kickstarter goes live? There is already lore. We will be talking more about it. We will be withholding lore because I know how much you love that star, and there will be questions that are unanswered because it makes it way more fun that way, doesn't it? Um, Star says, any target time to look out for the Space Zombies? The target The target is October, but being like a month away, every day that passes that certain things don't get done, we're further and further away from that being reasonable. That was what we were aiming for. That's still what we're aiming for. But we'll see. Um, let's see. Star says maybe do some black white space zombies to bring home that 50-60 sci-fi feel. No, we won't. But if you ask that question again, sort of when the thing's going on, I'll be happy to answer why. I lost my cactus. I'm not into zombies at all, but I do really like the spacesuit soldier cosmonaut stuff. That's awesome. That's what we're hoping for. That's the discussions that we've been having is how do we make sure that everybody can get something that they want, and that this doesn't just appeal to the zombie guys, that it also appeals. I think the scale is going to be the same as like GI Joe Classified or Monster Force, or other 6-inch scaled military toy lines that you may be buying currently. So I think to me it's kind of one of those ones where it's going to fit in where nobody else has really done an astronaut cosmonaut type thing yet. So hopefully it makes $2.5 million, like some other Kickstarters do, or whatever whatever it's at. Robo Geek says green gets me every time. You know what's ironic is the green one is the least exciting of all the colors that we're doing for me personally. But anyways, let's see. Brick says if I win the lotto, I'm helping to create the Mo Toy, the Museum of Toy Culture. That's where my stuff will live. I'm shocked there isn't a toy museum. There is a toy museum. It's in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, on the island. It's small, but it's a humble little thing. It connected to a toy store, and they actually call it. I think they call it the Canadian Toy Museum. It's not just Canadian toys, but it's it's pretty cool. And I think there is a toy museum. I want to say it's in the Midwest, like it's in Cleveland or something like that. I could be wrong though, but um Brick, there's some of your comments I'm not going to bring up. I'll let people read them. But yeah, go watch Brick's show. Brick had Jason on to talk about AWOC the other day. I couldn't make it. I was late. I was in the green room, but they never pulled me up and didn't realize I was there. Anyways, Brick's going on in 10 minutes with his show. Go get your fill of news. I'm going to try to catch up in the comments here. I think I'm almost caught up, and then I'm going to wrap it up because I'm way over time from what I had intended to do. Jason must have had his gummies that day. He has his gummy every day, and he is much more relaxed because of it. Justin Mohan says there are never too many Kickstarters. Back what you want. It's artistic expression. I agree. Back what you love, back what you can. You know, you don't have to back anything. You don't have to be all in on everything. I love the idea that we can back Kickstarters and back creators directly. It benefits them so much more than it would to like go through a company to sort of sell their idea or whatever. So, as far as the zombie stuff, stay tuned for more. There's a couple questions that I didn't answer that, you know, we'll answer at a later date. I don't want to go too much into that. Justin Mohan says connected Cherry Bomb. Exactly. The Canadian Toy Museum is connected to Cherry Bomb Toys in Victoria. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Amanda was like, how come you didn't say anything? I was like, I was never on screen. Gatey's Toys, we all have arbitrary rules about money, space, but sometimes the heart wants what the heart wants. So if something speaks to you, why not back it? Exactly. That's exactly how I feel. You should never feel pressured. You know, you should never feel as though you have to back a Kickstarter because everybody else is. You should never feel like you have to back a Kickstarter because everybody's telling you it's good. It's the same with any toy. Buy what you love, collect how you want. I just, you know, hope that people would consider Kickstarters because, like I said, it's just a really, really cool platform, and it's a really great way to support, you know, independence. It's a really great way to support what might be your next favorite toy line. So that's my sales pitch. Thank you guys for hanging out. It's been a blast. I always love talking about toys. I always love talking about, you know, toy adjacent things like Kickstarter as well. I'll be talking about Kickstarters more in the future. As I said, you know, I'm involved in about to launch one, so stay tuned for more on that. We will talk about all things zombie, all things space, all the different things that we would like to do, you know, more of the lore and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, if you're interested in that, you know, stay tuned to the channel. You know, maybe subscribe to the channel. Hey, there's no harm there either. If you haven't already, I mean, I recognize most names. I know that most of you guys subscribe, and I appreciate you guys. Anyway, I better get off here because Brick's gotta go jump on his channel. Jump on over to the Brick Something channel and check out the news. As I said, I will be on Geek Dad Life at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern time tonight. So if you haven't gotten enough of my annoying voice, you can get more with Jay later tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you guys. Until next time, bye-bye.